6 countries and 1 winner. And I bet at least one of these rankings is going to make you argue with me in the comments. But today I'm ranking the 6 most talked about Asian countries for retirees, from first to last. I'm Daniel, former hospital CEO and slow traveler for the past 5 years. So let's get started at the bottom, number 6, Cambodia. So a quick note on where these numbers come from. The healthcare cost of living data and the safety scores you're about to hear are pulled from Numbeo, which is the largest crowdsourced database of its kind, meaning the data is built from actually people who live there, residents, expats, whoever. I also came up with a composite score that ranked the health, cost, and safety scores equally, so you'll see, and that's how I came up with the rankings. All right, Cambodia. So Cambodia is home to some very cool things, including Angkor Wat, which is the largest religious monument on Earth. And it's one of the cheaper countries on this list for sure. The official language is Khmer, and outside of Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, and the expat-heavy pockets of these cities, English drops off pretty fast. Okay, so here's the graphic. As you can see, there's 3 columns: health, affordability, and safety. So health, the higher the score, the better. So think of 51.6 out of 100. The affordability, the lower the better. So you could look at this as 34.8 out of 100. In Numbeo, they base the cost out of 100, and that's based on New York City prices. And then safety, the higher the better. So basically you want a high health score, you want a high safety score, and you want a low cost score. And the composite score, 55.7, is those numbers equally weighted and divided. So as you can see, healthcare is a 51.6. There are a handful of private clinics in some of the bigger cities that cater specifically to expats who speak English. But the real problem here is the depth. So if you have a complicated case, you're probably going to have to go to Bangkok or Singapore. This isn't a country you want to be in if you're managing a complicated chronic condition. And if you do, you're going to need to make sure that your health insurance can pay for medevac to get you to a more specialized hospital. And there's some resources in the description below that shows you some options for health insurance and some other things that help us travelers. So you could check those out if you want. So on cost, Cambodia is very, very cheap. Your Social Security check could go super, super far. So on safety, the crimes that you actually probably need to worry about are like motorcycle base snatch and grabs where they steal your phone, or hotel room burglaries and ATM area robberies have been reported as well. But basically violent crimes against expats is really rare, but you do have to worry about the petty crime thing. Cambodia gets a 55.7 total score. And is it possible to stay long-term? Yes, it is. And the expat population is pretty small. All right, moving on to number 5, Malaysia. So if you're actually enjoying this and getting value, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. That always helps. All right, Malaysia. It's actually a big melting pot of Malay, Chinese, and Indian cultures living together. Bahasa Malaysia is the official language, but English is a real second language there. So it's just not like in some countries where they only speak it in the tourist areas. In Kuala Lumpur and Penang especially, you can function almost entirely in English. So that's a definite plus. So as you can see from this graph, Malaysia scores very high in healthcare. So healthcare is probably Malaysia's best asset. So private hospitals are Joint Commission accredited, they're staffed by internationally trained doctors, and they're definitely a fraction of US prices. Malaysia is definitely a medical tourism hub. So the one issue is that the quality kind of drops off outside of the major cities. So you kind of need to keep that in mind if you choose Malaysia to live in. It's not really cheap. And now getting into the country long-term is very, very expensive. On safety, the number one crime you need to worry about is the motorcycle snatch theft, grabbing your phone or your bag or whatever. And then also the credit card skimming and drink spiking and nightlife districts kind of occur as well. Violent crime is rare, but you do have these other crimes. So Malaysia gets a total score of 62.9. It is possible to stay long-term, like I said, but it's very, very costly. And the estimated expat population is moderate size. So that's Malaysia's number 5. So you have Cambodia at number 6, Malaysia at number 5, moving to number 4, Indonesia. So as everybody knows, Indonesia is home to Bali. The country has over 17,000 islands, which is just remarkable to me. And for retirees, this ranking is really about Bali specifically, since that's where the overwhelming majority of expats do land. Bahasa Indonesia is the national language, and English fluency is inconsistent, but it's strong in the touristy areas, of course. So as you can see, the health gets a 61.7. Bali has decent private hospital options for routine and urgent care, and the expat community has built a support network around that. But the issue is capacity for serious cases. Anything major typically is medevaced to Singapore. That's why comprehensive insurance is definitely needed in Bali if you live there. Affordability, Indonesia is cheap. And as you can see, and I believe this is the cheapest country on this entire list. On safety, the dominant crime is the phone snatching, and aimed specifically at tourists and expats walking around not really paying attention. Skimming and money changing scams happen. Violent crime is pretty rare as well, but 2026, they have seen more scams reported. So Indonesia gets a score of 63.4, falls at number 4 on the list. Is it possible to stay long-term? Yes, it is. And the estimated expat population is tens of thousands. So that rounds out the bottom 3 of the 6. I'm curious what you thought about that list. And now we're going to get into the top 3. And I'm sure that there's going to be comments about this because of the order. And it's because these are the most popular countries for sure. Number 3, the Philippines. The Philippines is home to over 7,600 islands and to one of the warmest, most American-friendly cultures you'll find in Asia. And I spent a year in the Philippines, and I would totally agree with this. This is the easiest language situation on the entire list. English is spoken basically everywhere. It's taught in schools, it's spoken fluently in government offices, hospitals, and daily life. So you won't have a problem with the language, assuming that you do speak English. As you can see from this graph, healthcare scores a 66.8. They have very good private hospitals there. The doctors are trained to speak English, and private hospitals in Metro Manila and Cebu are strong. The issue is definitely the divide. The public system doesn't cover foreigners, and outside of major cities, public hospitals are definitely under-resourced. Cost in the Philippines, very, very affordable. As you can see, it's 30.1. On safety, the crimes to know about are kind of the opportunistic thefts, right? Motorcycle bag snatching, pickpocketing, ATM skimming, and they do have scams targeting the arriving tourists as well. Is it possible to stay long-term? Yes, it's very possible and very easy. And the estimated expat population is 200,000 plus. So there's a big population there for sure. All right, so the Philippines gets a composite score of 64.4 and falls at number 3 on the list. And if you live in the Philippines, what do you think about being number 3? All right, number 2, Vietnam. All right, I'm currently in Da Nang right now, Vietnam, and I've only been here a short time, but I think this city is very, very cool. It has an amazing beach, amazing people. There are a lot of foreigners here, though, for sure. A lot of Koreans come over here for vacation because of the beach, but I've also seen a huge population of Russians, and I've talked to a few guys from Britain. So it's a really cool population, but everybody's super friendly. And Vietnamese is the national language. And here in Da Nang, English is pretty limited. In the tourist areas, it seems that there's always one person, maybe at the coffee shop, that can speak English. So as you can see from the chart, Vietnam, 62.2 for health. So they have private hospitals in the bigger cities. Healthcare is improving, but the issue is for more serious and complex cases, you would need to go to Thailand or Singapore. Affordability, 26.4. I've been to a lot of countries, and this is by far the cheapest country I've ever been to in my life. I'll give you a couple examples. For example, I took an Uber yesterday. It was about a couple mile ride, $1.27. You can get a legitimate massage at a very established massage parlor, 90 minutes for $27. And that's actually expensive. There's massage places around here that are smaller, kind of the nail salon, but you can get full body massages for 60 minutes for $8. It's super, super cheap here, just incredibly cheap. And Da Nang is very, very nice. So if you're looking for affordability, Vietnam is definitely somewhere you should look. On safety, the crime pattern is probably the same thing, kind of bag snatching, but Vietnam overall is very, very safe in my opinion. But I've only been to Da Nang. Was it possible to stay long term? Yes, but with some workarounds. They don't really have a retirement visa, but so everybody that stays here, you can stay for 90 days, then they do a visa run, and then they come back and stay another 90 days. And my understanding is people have been doing this for decades. So estimated expat population, tens of thousands. Like I said, I see a lot of foreigners here in Vietnam every single day. It's a great country, in my opinion. It's definitely one I'm going to continue to return to. So they get a composite score of 65.2 and fall at number 2 on the list. I'm guessing you know what number 1 is. But before I continue, put it in the comments before you watch. Okay, be honest. Before you watch, put it in the comments. Number 1, Thailand. Thailand is home to just some really cool stuff. The Grand Palace in Bangkok, probably thousands of temples. I don't know the exact number. And it's built the most complete expat infrastructure anywhere in Asia for sure. So Thai is the official language, and English proficiency nationally is probably lower on this ranking, but I think in the major hubs, English is spoken. So as you can see from this graph, healthcare is Thailand's clear strength. Internationally accredited hospitals with doctors trained in the US and Europe, fraction of American prices. It is a global medical tourism destination. You know, cost is not rock bottom, but you are paying for infrastructure. On safety, they have the same type of crimes, pickpocketing, bag slashing in markets. And if you're into the nightlife, drink spiking in nightlife areas does occur. I don't think it's a major caution, but it does occur. And violent crimes, genuinely rare. So they get a 63.4 on safety. Possible to stay long-term, absolutely. And estimated expat population is huge. So Thailand comes in number 1. So I'm curious, what do you think of the rankings? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.